Good morning, everybody. Hello from Sydney. It's great to have around 50 people with us this morning to join the Regional Growth Environment Tourism Fund webinar. It's great that so many people are linked in around regional New South Wales to hear more about this fantastic opportunity for funding for Environment and Tourism Fund projects. This webinar is for invited applicants who were unsuccessful from round one last year but still had a strong application at that EOI stage but weren't shortlisted. And so hopefully who we've got at the end of the screens around the place in New South Wales are all those people who've had that invitation to be submitting a detailed application under round two this year. So very quickly as an introduction, my name's Jonathan Wheaton. I'm the Acting Director of Regional Infrastructure with the Department of Premier and Cabinet. In the hot seat with us this morning we have Suzanne Gillam, who's the Program Manager for the Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund. We also have Alex Akopian, who's the Acting Director for our Investment Appraisal Unit, a really important person in DPC who leads the cost-benefit analysis and other appraisal work for the growing, not the growing local economies, the Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund. Too many funds. So, yeah, thank you so much for logging in this morning and taking the time to talk with us. Here's a quick overview of what we're going to cover off in the webinar. So we'll give you an overview of round two of the fund, about your detailed application stage, preparing your application, the important information to include, highlight your project benefits, things to avoid in putting together your application, how to capture the data for your economic appraisal, around privacy and confidentiality of information, what happened next, and then there'll be a fair amount of time hopefully for you to submit your questions on the screen, and we'll get them here and hopefully be able to talk those through. Really, I guess what it is about is giving you the best opportunity and a better opportunity to put your best foot forward under this program to give your project the highest chance of being successful. We will say that the program has been immensely popular. For round one, we had over $900 million worth of projects requested under the fund. And so, as you can imagine, it is really, really competitive. There is lots of really great projects being submitted under this program. And so thank you for joining in and thank you for wanting to get more information about this process. So I'm going to hand over to Suzanne, who's going to take us through the presentation today, and then Alex and I will be more involved in the questions at the back end. Thanks, Suzanne.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan, and thanks also to everyone for joining us this morning. We're very pleased to be able to talk about round two of RGETF, which we know was much anticipated. I'd just like to recap on what the Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund is and a little bit of background. Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund is a fund under Restart New South Wales with a specific economic focus. So the purpose of the Regional Growth and Tourism Fund, as you can see outlined in the slide here, and also it's outlined in the program guidelines, is to increase tourist visitation by investing in regional environment and tourism infrastructure, particularly focusing on those fixed assets that will grow and further diversify New South Wales regional economy. So that economic benefit is a really core part of the purpose of the fund. RGETF round one opened in April 2017, and as Jonathan said, we received an overwhelming number of applications and requests for funding. $110 million was committed under that round, and now we're back with round two, streams 1 and 2, with up to $100 million available. So you can see here we've just finished a webinar on stream 1, which is a round that's open to market for regionally iconic tourism activation projects, of a minimum $5 million funding grant amount, and there's up to $50 million in that stream. Under stream 2, which is the stream that we're going to focus on this morning, we've got up to $50 million for projects from eligible applicants who are unsuccessful at the EOI stage during round one. So it's a second chance to submit an application. So just to provide a little bit more detail about who's eligible to apply. You will have already received an invitation to apply for Stream 2 if you're one of those unsuccessful EOIs from round 1. The basis on which, so as Jonathan said, round 1 was significantly oversubscribed, and in addition to the $110 million worth of projects that were funded, we also knew that there were strong applications under round 1 that could have a second shot at funding. So the projects were selected on the basis that they indicatively met eligibility criteria and also economic benefit. So a quick assessment showed that those projects have potential for economic benefit. So that's the basis on which Stream 2 applicants have been invited. So it's a closed, I guess you can think of it as a closed round. It's a discrete stream of the overall round 2 of RGETF. So you can see here, just reiterating the rounds by invitation only, those applicants who are invited will have already received their invitation last Tuesday when we launched round 2 of the fund. There's a minimum grant amount of $500,000 under Stream 2, but there's no maximum. I'd just like to draw, just really sort of clearly state that although the applicants invited under Stream 2 of RGETF were round 1 applicants, you need to meet round 2 criteria. And there are a number of changes in round 2 guidelines that I'll talk through now. So one thing that hasn't changed is the eligible areas. So same as last time, projects need to be located in an eligible regional local government area. And as a result of RGETF being a restart fund, it means that projects from the Greater Sydney metropolitan area, Newcastle and Wollongong are not eligible. Funding amount, $500,000, no maximum. Unlike last round, there is a mandatory minimum 25% co-contribution requirement for round 2. So all projects are expected to co-contribute at least 25%, and more is preferred towards the projects. There's also a difference in eligible applicants, and I think we're talking through it in a bit more detail. No, we're not, on the next slide. Eligible applicants under round 2 are local government agencies, community organisations, incorporated community groups, and non-government organisations. So please note that. We're on a one-stage process for Stream 2, so you're going straight to a detailed application, and that's what we're here to talk through, what constitutes a good detailed application and what you really need to be mindful of in pulling together your detailed application. So about the detailed application stage, this slide should probably really be called, why the detail is important. As Jonathan said, RGETF round 1 was incredibly competitive. The detail that you put forward in your application, your detailed application, which is your business case for why your project should be funded, is how you put your best foot forward. It's the information on which your application is assessed. So I guess you can think of it as 3 strands. So we look at whether a project is eligible, so the eligibility criteria. We look at whether the project meets the assessment criteria, and then we also look at how projects rate against each other. The New South Wales Government is looking to get best value for money, I suppose, and we'll make a decision on which projects will deliver the most benefits. So try to think of the detailed application as evidence-based. You've got to provide data, you've got to support that data, you've got to clearly articulate your plans, not only for how the infrastructure meets the New South Wales Government's strategic priorities, how it's going to deliver economic benefit, but also how you're going to deliver the project and how you can tell us that the project is actually affordable. So it's much more information that's in your EOI, and it helps us better understand your project and undertake things like the cost-benefit analysis that we will need to do the economic assessment. So you're putting your best foot forward. So a little bit more detail in preparing your detailed application. You can see this slide lists some of the critical components. you need to put forward a business case that stacks up, that supports your claims and makes sure that your claims are addressing all of the criteria. I just want to articulate a little bit further on the 4 core criteria that we look at, which is in the top line there, so strategic, economic, affordability and deliverability. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the focus of the RGETF is really to use environmental and tourist infrastructure to help grow and diversify regional economies in New South Wales. So it's really important that in your detailed application you use strategic plans that are available. It might be the Visitor Economy Industry Action Plan, Destination Management Plans, New South Wales's Regional Development Framework, those high-level plans, and show how your project will help deliver those strategic goals. It's also important to note any local council or other plans or regional frameworks that your project will align with and fit into. The economic benefits restart fund, it's an expectation of RGETF that projects will deliver jobs and economic growth, and an absolute mandatory minimum is that the project would achieve a benefit cost ratio over 1. So the question is this project going to deliver the economic growth and productivity in the region? And you need to make sure that you provide the data and well-sourced data that will support that. A key question when we're thinking about affordability is the project financially viable into the future, taking into account various life cycle costs. So the restart funding, if you're funded under this project, is for the infrastructure, I guess for the capital investment. The ongoing maintenance and other costs are not eligible to be funded under restart, and you need to really show how you're going to make that piece of infrastructure deliver, how you're going to fund that over time. And then deliverability, again, as with every component under this category, you need to show a lot more detail than in the expression of interest, and you particularly need to show how you're going to deliver the project and provide those step-by-step details to show that the project is investment ready. So it might be things like you've got appropriate risk plans or procurement plans, project plans, all of that stuff, employment, whatever it might be. Those core components in delivering that piece of infrastructure. And it really, the detailed application or business case as we call it, needs to be really well developed. Just the final line there, RGETF data sheets need to be completed to allow a full economic appraisal. And you need to make sure, we'll go into that in a little bit of detail in a moment, but that data needs to be up to date and sourced and accurate and provide as much as you can. Okay. So we've got some tools available that we'd really encourage you to make use of. There are guidelines. You can see there's you can see the cover of business case guidelines, which is available on our website, and you can see the address there. So I'd encourage you to have a look at it. It's really about making sure that you do your research, look at what you need to provide early on to give yourself the best chance of success. So you're going to be needing to provide a detailed description of the proposed project, financial forecasts or projections that are supported by data, up-to-date data, well-sourced data, estimates of costs, including things like appropriate contingency estimates, and obviously a full description of how the project will be funded. And if there are other funding partners, provide evidence that that funding has actually been secured. And Alex is here with us and can answer any questions about the economic component of putting together your detailed application at the end of the formal presentation this morning. So we've got the business case guidelines. That's a helpful tool. There's a lot of information on the Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund on the website. So there's the program guidelines, the fact sheet, and there's a lot more information in the RGETF fact sheet than there are generally for other funds. There's a frequently asked questions. And don't forget your human resources. So at the end of this presentation, we will list our email address for the regional, for the DPC regional team and the phone number. We've got business development managers and deputy directors all through New South Wales who know about these products, and they're there to support you to submit quality applications for funding. We work closely with our BDMs. Some of you are probably on the line, so hello. We work collaboratively, so if there are any questions that can't be resolved, they can come to us and we can help out with it. So really encourage you to get in contact with your regional teams and use that resource as well. So moving on, as we probably keep drilling home. This fund is really competitive. There were a lot of applications under round one. We expect a lot of applications under stream one, and again, there's up to, but only $50 million available under stream two. I suppose the reason that I'm reiterating that is that the competitive nature, the lots of applications means that it's really important that you highlight project benefits. So have a think about what opportunities will your project bring? What problems does it address? What's unique that your project is going to resolve? You might want to point out what other options you considered and why the option that you've arrived at, this piece of infrastructure, is what you think is the best solution to a problem or taking advantage of an opportunity. What's the benefit that your project's going to bring, whether that be avoided costs, cost savings, new employment, new revenues, and obviously a tourist infrastructure fund, additional interstate and international, or New South Wales resident visitors. So make sure that in the business case you put in your qualitative benefits, and certainly in the data sheet you put in your quantitative benefits. Where you are describing your qualitative benefits, try to quantify it wherever you can. Use sources available at the destination network to connect with your local tourist or destination teams, and use the data that's in the destination management plans. Really back up the case that you're trying to make. Things to avoid, I suppose this page should be labelled don'ts. Be clear and purposeful in your application. Be appropriately detailed. As much information as you can garner that's quality information and helps support your case is really important. But be realistic. I think remove abstraction, remove vagueness, and put in that detail to provide a really comprehensive case that stacks up. And of course support your claims with evidence wherever you can. I suppose the don'ts are pretty obvious. Don't be over optimistic. Don't put forward unsubstantiated claims. Don't fail to address one of the core criteria. So benefits to New South Wales. Don't forget about things like cost estimates or financial forecasts. Don't make a passing reference to strategic alignment. Make sure you really drill into that detail and nail it home. And always draw it back when you're preparing your business case. Draw it back to the purpose of the RGETF, which I mentioned at the beginning, increasing tourist visitation to regional New South Wales, investing in the infrastructure that will help increase that tourist visitation and bring economic benefit and diversify regional New South Wales economies. So I'm sitting next to Alex, who's an absolute expert in the investment appraisal, and I'm going to try and talk about the investment appraisal, so I wish myself luck. As I mentioned, it's an economic program, and jump in anytime, Alex. It's an economic program that's designed to bring economic growth and productivity. All applications that are funded are going to need to demonstrate a benefit-cost ratio over 1. I guess there are 5 key areas that you need to provide detail on. You need to talk through how the project is going to be funded, what are the other funding sources, is that have you got funding from the Commonwealth Government, from your own funding, local government? Have you got industry support? And have you got evidence to support that? You need to provide detail on the project costs, so the capital expenditure, property, plant and equipment, and really give clear visibility on what the specifics of those are. You need to outline with detail the operational expenditure, so the ongoing operational and maintenance expenses over the life cycle of the project, and you can see some examples might be rent, electricity, water, that sort of thing. And then, of course, other types of data that you can include are visitation data, so what you anticipate, whether your project will increase overnight stays, increased expenditure and so on, and any revenue that your project may generate. So please include that information. And use the data sheets provided. They're on the website. You need to make sure that you fully complete the data sheet. Make sure that you submit it by 5 p.m. on the 21st of September with your business case, and that's as fulsomely populated as possible. Alex, did you have anything more to add at this moment?
If there's any questions, we can answer those at the end.
Yep, okay. Might just move on. So the Regional Growth Environment and Tourism Fund is administered from Restart New South Wales by Infrastructure New South Wales, so it's a government program. And for that reason, we are subject to the Government Information Act. So please note, of course, that all information that you provide as part of your application is confidential, but we, as government agencies, are subject to GIPA. So we request that you mark any information as confidential that you put forward that to help us know if we did indeed receive a GIPA request. So what happens next? So the fund launched last Tuesday, I think it was. We provided you as much time as we could, noting that we're working to a pretty quick timetable. We tried to get it as close to 6 weeks as possible. So applications are due by 5 p.m. on the 21st of September. And please make sure that your application isn't late, because late applications in general won't be accepted, and it would be a horrendous scenario for you to put all that work in and not have your application accepted. So 5 p.m, 21st of September, make sure that it's your business case plus the fully completed data sheet. So expressions of interest will, not expressions of interest, your applications will then be reviewed by the Regional Independent Assessment Panel, and that incorporates key subject matter experts from various government agencies. And then the RIA, the Regional Independent Assessment Panel, will provide recommendations to Infrastructure New South Wales. Infrastructure New South Wales will then make its own recommendations for funding to government. So remember that these decisions, funding decisions, are made by the government. Okay, so I think particularly for detailed applications, the questions that you ask are really important, and we've got time now for questions for you to put forward your questions and for us to hopefully be able to respond to them. Do just want to reiterate, we will flash up to our contact details while we're answering the questions. So please make sure that you note those. Please get in touch with either by email or by phone to our inquiry line with any questions that you have. When you do call that inquiry line, you will probably be referred to one of our business development managers who works in your region, who will be able to help you with questions that you have and workshop your application to make sure that you're putting forward the most comprehensive application that you can. So please make sure that you get in touch, use the resources available.
Thank you very much for linking in to the webinar. We hope it's been useful for you in preparing your detailed application. A reminder that the cut-off is for 21st of September. If you need support and assistance or advice, we really encourage you to contact your business development manager. So have a great day, the rest of the day out in regional New South Wales. Thank you again for the support of our programs, not just this one, but all of the suite of programs under the Growth Fund. And have a great day. See you later, everybody.